Hey, this is Tom Webster for Sounds Profitable, Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024. 19.2 ounces of podcasting wisdom. But first, if you're coming to New York for Advertising Week and looking for a laugh, YMH Studios, in collaboration with Red Circle, Podscribe, and Sounds Profitable, have taken over New York Comedy Club on the evening of October 9th for industry-leading networking, followed by some of the most popular comedians in podcasting. The event capacity is incredibly limited, so if you're interested in attending, please fill out the form that's linked in the show notes to be considered for this free event. I'll be there. A few weeks ago at Podcast Movement, I gave a keynote about the current state of podcasting, and you can access the whole report and the subsequent webinar for the podcast landscape in the show notes. A few hours before I went on stage, I asked Brian, my partner, to find me a can of Liquid Death sparkling water. Now, if we've ever done a Zoom or a Teams or a Skype or a GoToMeeting or a Google Meet, it's whatever, all of those, you've probably seen me drinking one on camera. It's not beer, I promise. Well, with an assist from Frequency's Pete Jimison, Brian returned just before call time with the most offensive object I've seen in many months, a 12-ounce can of Liquid Death. Now, I don't even know where to start with this. Liquid Death normally comes in a 19.2-ounce can and not that useless doorstop. It's an affront to every sensibility I have. A grotesque parody of a Liquid Death, a failed simulacrum, 12 ounces of mortal insult. Well, I forgave Brian eventually, but there I was, on stage, without the 19.2-ounce can of thirst-murdering sparkling water that I needed to propel me to deliver at least an adequate stage performance. This 12-ounce can would murder no thirsts. It might bruise them or deliver a scathing insult, but my thirst would remain unmurdered and at large. See, I love the branding of Liquid Death, and what they've done in the crowded seltzer space is genius. Much of it is down to their irreverent language and horror movie art, but no small part of it is the can, a 19.2-ounce tall boy of thirst-murdering refreshment. The can makes Liquid Death special as much as anything else. It's exactly how much I want to drink when I want to drink this sort of thing. It makes other cans feel small. It got me thinking about a few things. First, why would Liquid Death agree to do this? Well, I actually think it's a mistake, but I can certainly hear the marketing executives talking about things like vending machines and refrigerator drawers and deciding that if I just put it in a different package, it could be sold and made available in more places. And that's probably true. But in the same basic can as a pathetic LaCroix, Liquid Death loses its homicidal luster. It's no longer special. It's more saleable, but it's less slaughterable. I think about this in the current era of podcasting, where video has surged in importance for discovery, and YouTube has become the most commonly used platform for podcast consumption. For podcasters who produce an audio podcast, it presents a dilemma. Do I change the can so I can sell my podcast in more machines? Or do I stay with audio and close off that potential discovery opportunity? I have a couple of answers to this. First, as I've noted before, even if a podcast doesn't belong on YouTube, I think a podcaster does. It's a significant advantage to have a presence on the world's most effective content search engine, and there's a place for you there as well. That place may not mean just plopping your podcast on YouTube. It might mean crafting a different thing, not a teaser or a trailer, but something made bespoke for YouTube that pays off right then and there, works in that environment, and might lead people to see what else you have available for a deeper engagement, like a podcast. Of course, you can also put your podcast itself on YouTube. Just adding the audio with a still photo or audiogram or waveform animation doesn't perform particularly well, so don't expect much there. But if you have the ability to at least show who's talking in a couple of microphones, well, some people like that sort of thing. It helps them follow along and pay attention. We covered this in our report, Sound You Can See, last year. Now, you could do this, but should you? Well, I have only the advice that my mother used to give me when I would ceaselessly scratch at a black fly or mosquito bite after a walk in the Maine woods. Don't make it worse. If a video version of your audio podcast isn't something you're proud of, no one's making you release it. There's something to be said for doubling down on audio and honoring the work in the best way you know how without feeling like you have to go invest in a bunch of ring lights. And this is where the 19.2-ounce liquid death can brings me. Making multiple sizes of can might make it more available in various retail outlets, but it also makes it less special. There's nothing special about that 12-ounce can. It fits in more machines, but it robs Liquid Death of something that really set it apart from other seltzers. And you don't have to cram your podcast into YouTube if that too robs it of what makes it special. Instead, here's a thing to consider. Let's double down on what makes audio special, what it can do that video cannot. Audio is truly a companion medium. It's a friend. It goes with you wherever you go, no matter what you are doing, in ways that video simply can't. Because it can stay with you in your earbuds while you commute or walk or go outside or clean your house, the illusion never breaks. Audio provides a kind of relationship to the hosts and the content of a podcast that can't be replicated by video because it genuinely only takes place in the imagination. I acknowledge the power of video and its importance to podcasting as we know it today. I'd be a fool not to. But I got into this business out of my love for spoken word audio and how it can make you feel. So don't be afraid to double down on audio. If you do, you cannot forget to always be selling the unique benefits and features of audio that video cannot provide. You have to communicate to your audience that your choice not to be on video is just that, a choice, and that you've thought it through. Ultimately, video is a key to getting your content in more vending machines and potentially in front of a much larger audience. That's just a fact. But don't change your can if it ruins the contents. Now go forth and murder some earballs. Thanks again for listening to this podcast, 19.2 Ounces of Podcasting Wisdom. This episode is hosted on Spreaker, and for Sounds Profitable, I'm Tom Webster, and I'll see you next week.